back, guys and girls, to another episode of Dad's Toy Garage, and I'm starting a new build series. I loved playing with Hot Wheels when I was a kid. I'd hang out with my dad in the shop. He'd build the real cars and I'd build the miniatures. And I love restoring old vintage Redlines and modifying Hot Wheels. So this series that we're going to have going is going to be Redline restoration and Hot Wheels customization kind of things. So the car we're going to be building in this series is a green Mustang spoilers Redline Hot Wheels, and it's called the Boss Hoss Mustang. And I'm going to try and restore this car as accurately as possible to original. I think old Redline Hot Wheels should be done to original. Customization for the newer ones, I would say. But yeah, let's follow along with this video. Let's have some fun with this and see what you guys think. As you saw in the intro, we got these cars here, and I'll go through them a little bit. Here is a Charger, the same year as what you'd see in the Dukes of Hazzard, and I believe that's a 69. So I've painted it black, gave it a vinyl roof, and then you can take the wheels. They're off of Real Riders series, and the engine compartment, I've painted up the Hemi with a little bit of detail. I gave it a red interior. And my favorite cars are the spoilers Hot Wheels. And since I have a Celica, I decided it would be a good candidate to make my own. It needs a Spectra flame paint job yet, but I've taken the engine out of a modern recreation spoilers, that yellow Mustang convertible, and put on the fatter, wider Redline wheels. Then we got this one. It's a project I want to tackle yet. It's in a light blue color. You can see it's pretty beat up. I did a hot rod General Lee. This is the Matchbox, but it's, what is that, Chevy engine orange, I think. And then I've cleared over with automotive clear after I laid the decals down. And I really like this one, Hot Rod Herbie. You get the idea of what's happened here. The Real Riders wheels, tires. It's a Ford Performance White because we had a contour in that color at one point, and the decals. And my all-time favorite Hot Wheels that I own is this one. That was a full restoration to exactly the way it came, and it started life out in this condition here. So this one is next on my list of cars that we're going to be redoing, and it's going to look like this when it's done. I would say this Camaro, the heavy Chevy, was much worse shape than this baby right here. And the heavy Chevy, I polished the underside, put the decals on, and I could save everything but the paint job and the decals and wheels to bring it to this condition. So today's car is this one. It's going to need new decals, new stripes, and I've polished the underside already and put the new wheels on it already. So I have a cool book here, got it for Christmas one year, but it's really informative and it's good for I think a lot of the cars in here are not unrestored originals, so it's good for reference. But you get stuff like this, gives you the history on the car, and this is the car, how it's going to look when I'm done restoring it, so it's good for reference. And what I'm going to need for this project is the green paint. So I've ordered that from a place called Redline Shop, as well as the decals and the numbers. So I got my 6s in there because this one used to have a 6, and if possible I like to put the same numbers back on. And for the Beetle that I did, they all sell all kinds of neat things at Redline Shop. That's also where the wheels came from that are already on there. But you can get the General Lee decals, the Herbie decals. I got some Red Baron ones in there and stuff like that. So let's get into this build. Let's have some fun with it. First thing you want to do in a restoration is get some good quality photos for reference and for color matching and stuff like that. What you have to start with is drilling out the 2 rivets on the bottom, and you got to drill it to a specific size because you can buy these replacement rivet studs and they have to fit inside the hole, and they get epoxy glued into there later. So on my 67, they have those rivets put into there. The way you drill it out is you start with a fine bit and you drill in the center of the rivet so that you can use these little rivet studs later when you put it back together, and that will be epoxied and hold it together and look right, and then the car will separate. Those are all the parts, and I can salvage everything out of this car. The glass is good, the interior is good. I couldn't reuse the wheels, they were too shot for restoration. I'm also going to have to drill out that motor and polish that engine up. So the motor is now out. The next step on this car is going to be stripping the paint off. Alright, this is the next step, paint stripper, and here's the car. So that paint is already bubbling up. We'll let it sit on there for a little bit. So here is the casting. It came out really nice and clean. That was with just 5 minutes of paint stripping and wiping down. So the next step is to polish, and I like to use Mother's Meg and aluminum polish and a microfiber rag. This casting here is now, I've cleaned it off with water to neutralize the paint stripper. It's pretty good. There's a little bit of, I don't know if you call it oxidization or whatever, where it's not quite as shiny, but I'm going to polish that a little bit and it should be ready for paint after that. I've just finished hand polishing this guy with this polish that's in this container, and next step will be getting the green on there. So this won't be long and this car will be done. An important little detail on the car, like I've got this chassis polished already and cleaned up, is painting little details, and Hot Wheels had the grill painted, so I masked that off and I spray painted it with some semi-gloss. The next thing I did was paint the 3 taillights on the car, and I just used model paint. What I've used is Model Master Insignia Red. I don't know if they still make Model Master or not, but it's semi-gloss red. And the best way to apply that I found is something hard and pointy. For example, I'm using a toothpick. You could use a small nail. Another example would be this one here. You can see how I painted the tail panel black, and then I scratched the silver off around the tail lights, and then I painted the lights red. Same idea on the front of this car here. So here's the engine, and it has not been polished, so I'm going to give it a quick polish just to bring some of the shine out of it. I started polishing with Mother's polish, same stuff again. It works fast, that's why I like it. It was working okay, but not the best, and just microfiber rag. So what I did, I ended up just putting some regular white vinegar into this container and just took my toothbrush to it, and she came out real nice. So that will work good for this car. It looks like new again. It's time to paint this little car here, my Boss Hoss, and I got it set up on the stand. It's kind of a nice stand for doing this work. You don't have to touch the casting. So the first thing I did was I went over it with some painting pre-prep, a clean rag. I got some other things here. I got my Spectra Flame green paint and the Hardner from the Redline Shop. Lacquer thinner for cleaning, a new toothbrush, I think that should work alright. Toothpicks for mixing the paint, and I got my Badger spray gun. So what I got is an air ball filter, keeps the water and moisture contaminants out of my airline, and a valve here so I can adjust my pressure. I'm going to go by feel, and that little line screws onto this brass fitting here. Here's the line. You don't want to run a ton of pressure because you do not want to blow out the line. Got my airbrush here. I haven't used this thing in a while, so we got to figure that out. And we got somewhere to put the paint, so I can put it in either cup. So there's tack coat on the car. You can see it's kind of got a really light shade of green. Let's just turn it there a little bit. And we're supposed to do 2 tack coats is what they called for with the paint, and then I guess 2 filler coats, and then a nice wet one to get the shine on there. Okay, this is kind of fun. I have not used my airbrush in many years, but I love the way it atomizes on such small things. And you can see the color is now a shade darker. It looks so cool. That Spectra flame paint is a lot of fun. So that's second tack coat, and next coat will be getting a little bit wet. We're going to give it a 10-minute sit now, and then we'll get back on it with more paint. And something I've been doing, I just have lacquer thinner, and I got this bottle that came in my kit. So in between, I just kind of tape up my paint cup, and I run the lacquer thinner through here. I clean the brush tip with this, because if this is anything like automotive paint, you probably don't want it drying into your gun. So yeah, cool. Here is the next coat on the car. Turn it a little bit more green. Here is the final coat of paint on the car. Turn it up here. She's pretty gorgeous. Alright guys, girls. So we got our casting all painted inside. I had it in the cure cycle at work today. I put it in for 2 rounds in the spray booth while we were curing stuff. And it is now time to put on our decals. I got the number 6s there and the black stripes. So here's the car when I picked it up. And I found some older folders without the tires or any of the polishing done to it. But as you can see, she's a number 6. Got the black stripes on the rockers here. There's the back. It's a corrosion. And the stripes on top. So we have reference of what needs to go where. I just got the racing stripes on the top of the car. As you can see, they're on the cowl, the roof, and the trunk. And I've done the rocker stripes on both sides. So now it is time for the number 6s, and as you can see on my car, it was a number 6, so I would like to put the same numbers back onto it. So there are my number 6s with the rocker panel black stripes, and the top's done. For a little comparison here, there we go, got the right lighting on it. Here are all the parts of the car cleaned up. We're going to get it back together now. So flip the car over, and as you can see, the glass is really good. This is actually still the original paint. I just polished it up a little bit. I believe they paint it from the back side. So we're just going to drop this in here. Then the interior, which is silvery gold. I don't know if that matters. I haven't seen any stats on what's more valuable for these cars. But that's the interior. And there's 2 little pins that actually have to go in. Plus you slide this over the stud there. It clips down. And that is. So the next thing is this. I'm going to just pressure fit it for now. I did have to bend this tail panel back a little bit. And that piece is all polished up. I think these are all Hong Kong castics. I would have to take a look to see. That's where that sits now. She's looking real fine. Next thing I want to do is get that motor back in there, and I did have to drill out the rivet to do that. And I've mixed up some JB Weld. I'm going to put a little bit on the back of the motor, and then we'll stick her in place. There, engine swap's done. There's our engine in place. So I've got these little rivet heads from Redline Shop. They're made to look like the original rivets, and I know some guys machine them to get the little, I guess there's some indents in there. I'm just going to put them on. It'll be good enough for my collection. I pulled the car apart here, and here I put some JB Weld. So there's some in the holes that will hold it. Plus when we stick the rivets in, as you can see, we have now got rivets in there. The whole thing has to dry a little bit, but I'm very happy with that. I might take the front of the one and snip it off a little bit just to get it a little more flush, but it's together. There she is in her new glory. I'm very, very impressed with how it came out. I'm pretty excited to see it up against the other cars. But let's just have a look here. And I tried to do it as close to the way it came original, color, numbers, stripe colors, and the wheels. I do like the deep dish, but like I've said before, I want my cars to be original as possible, the way they would have came from the Hot Wheels factory. And I think we've got that. I'm not sure if the color maybe was a little bit more blue in the green on my casting, but I think this is as close as we're gonna get. I'm very satisfied with the Redline paints. Yeah, so that's the car. We'll flip it over on the bottom here so you can see the underside detail, but it's all done. Well, that was a fun build. I love old Redline Hot Wheels, and this is the way I can get them looking good, is by buying the old beaters and making them look a lot better. I'm very pleased. Like I said, I'm very pleased with how the Boss Hoss turned out. And I hope you guys enjoyed this new thing that I'm doing on the channel. Don't worry, we're still going to be building cars. I'm just adding miniature cars to the build now. And this is a new series. These probably won't come out quite as often, these videos. But keep your eyes fixed on the channel. If you enjoy this kind of thing, there will be more. I have more cars lined up. This is my box of Hot Wheels stuff. There's a lot of projects sitting in there. But yeah, you can build these a lot quicker. I had this car done in under a week, just a couple hours in it. But I'll keep plugging away at these, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.